Now, meanwhile, the Japanese yen has lost value since the government loosened monetary policy. That was to try to turn around an economy that had spent years in the dark. It has dropped more than 7% against the South Korean won over the past year, and that's good for Japan. It makes exports to its neighbors more competitive. But for South Korean exporters to Japan, well, it's not so good. Shane Hom has a close look.
This factory in the South Korean city of Hwasong manufactures hydraulic cylinders used in tractors, machinery, and ships. Most of the company's clientele are in Japan. In fact, Japanese customers make up 60% of the company's revenues. But over the past several years, orders have declined.
Because of the continuing weak yen effect, finding new business clients in Japan is difficult. With our existing customers, orders and revenues have declined by about 20%.
The Japanese yen has lost roughly 35% of its value against the Korean won in the past 2 years. In other words, Korean goods are simply too expensive compared to Japanese products.
Currently, we are sustaining business by exporting and selling at basically production costs with very little profit.
Total trade volume between South Korea and Japan has declined every year now for the past 3 years, falling to below $90 billion in 2014. But it's not just South Korean goods to Japan that are suffering. The weak Japanese yen is hurting South Korean exports on the global stage as well. Among South Korea's top 100 export items, over half overlap and compete directly with Japanese-made products. For instance, South Korea's Hyundai Motor and affiliate Kia Motors saw their U.S. market share grow to 8.7% in 2012. That figure dropped to just over 7% last year, while Japanese automakers experienced double-digit sales growth.
Korean businesses have very few options to tackle price and currency fluctuations. So ultimately, they will have no choice but to counter the weak yen by raising their non-price competitiveness in areas such as technology and marketing.
Experts also suggest South Korean authorities need to come up with countermeasures to tackle the weak Japanese currency. Otherwise, South Korean exporters face a tough road ahead of them. Shane Hom for CCTV, Hwasong, South Korea.